Hello, I'm Maureen Millman and I work with the Office of Energy at the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. I would like to talk to you today about considering how your project might impact the natural resources of Wisconsin and the process for planning and permitting your project through DNR. Our focus today will be on early project planning, endangered resource reviews, wetland and waterway reviews, consultations, and permitting, DNR construction site stormwater permitting, DNR real estate coordination, and information on how to make contact with DNR staff. The NHI Public Portal is an online tool that provides information typically acquired through an endangered resources review. The public portal will guide you through a series of questions about the project. preliminary assessments are only valid if the project habitat and waterway related questions are answered accurately based on current site conditions. A full review may be required if an assessment is deemed invalid due to inaccurate responses. After completing the portal process, you'll receive an Endangered Resources Preliminary Assessment, which will help to guide your next steps concerning endangered resources. Completing the steps provided by the NHI Public Portal ensures compliance with the Wisconsin Endangered Species Law. NHI Public Portal search results are presented in an Endangered Resources Preliminary Assessment. The Preliminary Assessment contains a summary of the information entered and a list of follow-up actions based on the species and natural communities within the vicinity of the project area. Information regarding whether or not a full endangered resources review is necessary, and a determination of the next steps regarding endangered resources. If an review is required, strongly recommended, or recommended, BEAD project proponents will need to coordinate with the Public Service Commission to have a certified review completed. Certified reviews are further reviewed by DNR staff for compliance. It is imperative that the reviews are completed early in the planning process. An review is a formal letter detailing the rare species, high-quality natural communities, and other endangered resources likely to be impacted by a specific proposed project. Reviews allow the project proponent to identify, address, and develop solutions for endangered resources concerns. The letter includes required and/or recommended actions to help projects comply with endangered species law. The state endangered species law applies on both public and private lands. If work cannot be completed within the required parameters, the BEAD project proponent may need to obtain an individual incidental take authorization. That incidental take authorization includes an analysis of potential impact to the species, as well as a 30-day public notice. Accurate identification of wetlands early in the project planning stages is important to prevent impacts to these sensitive resources and to inform what types of waterway or wetland permits may be required to carry out a project. Often, the location of wetlands directly determines project installation methods intended to avoid or minimize wetland impacts. There are several different ways which wetland boundaries can be determined, and department staff can provide wetland boundary determination and verification services. Wetland reviews are needed to determine if wetland is present in the project corridor. It is important for the project planning, for DNR permitting, and for decision making. Wetland delineations officially confirm the wetland boundaries within the project area. Conservative reviews assume all areas mapped as wetland indicators and soils, which includes the NRCS wet spots, and mapped wetlands are wetlands. Refined desktop reviews provide site visit documentation on why certain assumed wetlands are uplands. Once wetland boundaries are concurred with, that information can be used by the applicant or consultant to calculate wetland disturbance totals, both temporary and permanent, based on the project plans to help determine applicable DNR waterway wetland permitting requirements. This is a screenshot of the DNR Surface Water Data Viewer. It's a great tool to determine what the basic information for your area. However, it needs to be treated as a tool. That's important to note that it's a valuable starting point, but not definitive for wetland boundaries. Out in the field, you need to be looking for gaps on available wetland review resources. For example, in this picture, there's actually wetland here as well as here, but it's not really noted in the mapping. So it's important that you use these as tools to start to determine that, but then projects need to be field verified or use some more refinement to determine what is actually in the field on the ground. Early project planning leads to good project plans. Here we see the wetland, as well as the location of the bore pits that were used in order to directional bore under the wetland, avoiding the wetland. Hiring an assured wetland delineator may be the most streamlined way to go through the permitting process. However, it is not required. Early project planning, working with DNR on permitting, all helps to streamline the decision-making process. It is important that wetland screening resources are utilized to submit the most complete and detailed wetland consultation requests. Wetland reviews and consultations are required prior to submitting to DNR a wetland permit. Please plan accordingly. The DNR Office of Energy webpage is a great place to start when looking at projects and trying to determine the process for permitting. On that page, there's a permitting tab, and under the permitting tab, there's a lot of information about the process. Included in the location where you found this webinar, we have provided a list of websites that will be very useful in your project planning and getting through the permit process. Waterway and wetland permitting is also outlined on our webpage. There is a general permit that has certain criteria that needs to be met, and that general permit does have a 30-day statutory timeline upon receipt of a complete application. If the application is not complete or DNR has questions, DNR may make one request for additional information, which then pauses the clock on the 30-day timeline. Wetland consultations or reviews must be completed prior to this timeline permit submittal. If those general permit criteria cannot be met, a DNR individual permit must be applied for. The DNR individual permit requires an elevated review and longer timeline, approximately 90 or more days. Construction site stormwater permits are required to ensure post-construction site stability to prevent erosion and sedimentation, which can negatively affect lakes, rivers, streams, and wetlands. Common disturbances for these types of projects are listed here. If a stormwater permit is required, applicants must submit a notice of intent with site-specific construction site erosion control plans specifying which erosion control best management practices, or BMPs, will be utilized within the project area. DNR staff will then evaluate the NOI within 14 days and either grant coverage or seek additional details. These projects are required for projects where the total land disturbance for the project is 1 acre or more. Please note that the project area for the purpose of a stormwater permit application may be comprised of multiple bid areas or units that are won by a common contractor, which are either contiguous or within a quarter mile of each other as a common plan of development. DNR real estate coordination. No activity is authorized that impacts DNR land, including right-of-way where DNR is the underlying fee owner, without a land rights conveyance from the DNR real estate program. Please reach out early before a route is decided. These are your primary DNR contacts for BEAD projects. Please contact us early and often as needed. We are here to answer questions for you and happy to respond. Thank you for your time today. Please contact us with any questions, And please check out our adjoining document with helpful links for your projects related to DNR permitting and approvals. Have a great day.